Hi folks, you're Tasseless today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a few interviews on media interviews I've seen on the news, the major news stations, where they're talking about increases in shop stealing, and they claim substantial increases where it's gone up between 20 and 30%. So they claim from previous levels. So some are even claiming it's the increase in shop stealing is greater than that. Others say it's only a guess because they don't really know. And some are even saying that because shop stealing is difficult to quantify, that the amount of theft could be double what they're thinking it might be. I don't know, but the shop stealing's on the rise. I'm not surprised, but they profess now this is not shop stealing of like the organized black gangs that steal Armani handbags or something like that. This is sort of more of the basic stuff, and food and that sort of thing. But this idea of, I was just watched an interview. It was only 5 minutes or so, but the interviewer didn't really pursue it, and the so-called representative of the shop association, who'd clearly been closely briefed on what to say. In fact, I got the impression she was mentally handicapped. Actually, she seemed so stupid, but she was clearly briefed on what to say and stuck to the talking points she was given. And nobody wanted to talk about the reasons. So is it the mass migration that's forcing up rent prices? Is it the globalist, the green agenda that's forcing up energy prices? Is it COVID and the supply chain breakdown, and then multinational profiteering, monopolies, oligopolies that's forcing up food prices? So all the essentials of life are much more expensive than they were a few years ago, and certainly much more expensive than they were, say, 30 or 40 years ago. But is that an issue? They don't even touch on it. It's not even mentioned. It's just, it's kind of a real mystery. We don't know why people are stealing, loaves of bread and containers of milk. We just don't know. It's just such a fucking mystery. But what we do know is we have to really amp up the surveillance in our stores, and facial recognition. We've really got to amp up that, and we've really got to get customer details and so on. So let's have a look at that, because this feeds into the surveillance state, and I think it's a bit like, look at all the millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people are dying from COVID. Everyone has to have the shot. It's a fucking emergency. I think they're trying to gin this up into being an emergency. There's a pandemic of stealing. We have to act. We have decent people everywhere. We have to act. And I don't think it's got anything to do with that at all. Now, let's look at somebody on the average wage, say. Now, bear in mind that nearly all the increase in employment, not all, but nearly all, excuse me, the increase in employment across the Western world is in the lowest of the low-paid jobs. Jobs are being artificially created for third world peasants to come and do. So there's a massively expanding base of people who have below the absolute minimum of the minimum wage, and they're now far and away the majority, and the median point at which life becomes affordable is somewhere between 20 and 25% of jobs. So say 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 jobs now pay a wage that allows you to live somewhat autonomously and independently and so on. And even if you're at the bottom end of that, you're not living well. Even the bottom end of the top 10% of jobs and the salaries and wages they pay, if you're in the 9% range, so you're still not doing that well. You really need to be in, say, 1.5%, and if you want to be doing like good, you're maybe 1 in 300 jobs are paying that sort of money. So we just need to understand the spread of jobs and what they pay, and what the purchasing power of those pay packets have. But let's take someone on the average. Let's just assume the average wage for the moment, and look at somebody on the average wage. Now, their rent, just over the last 3 years, their rent will have gone up from, an average of I'll just use round numbers here for the sake of it, but their rent will have gone up from $100 to $130 a week. Now they've got the option of moving further out from the city, but then their travel costs go up, and they're spending a lot more time traveling. So whereas they may spend 20 minutes getting to work and have a very low cost of travel, now they're going to spend an hour and a half getting to work and will have much higher cost of travel. So this is the sort of differences we're talking about here. Now food has also gone up. You look at just the price of bread and milk. Like if you look at, say, you're buying a loaf of bread and a container of milk every day, your cost has gone up by about 40%. Now you can buy smaller loaves of bread that have less wheat and everything in them. They got cheaper, shitty ingredients, but it's a smaller loaf, less slices and smaller slices, that type of thing. So for the weight that you're buying, it's gone up about 35. The milk and the bread deal up at 35%. Now the price of meat has gone up astronomically. So much so now that in a lot of food stores, they've actually got special security tags on the meat. So because the supposedly the theft in that is great. I don't know if theft is great or they're just protecting it. But you're looking at some of the the better cuts of beef, for example. You're looking at 60, 70, you're looking at like $40, $50 a pound for that sort of stuff. And if you want the really good cuts, you can head well north from there. Now, I sort of remember being able to buy a steak, a good steak, say 300, three-quarters of a pound or something like that, around that type of weight, and or 350 grams in the metric scale. And I remember being able to buy that for 80 cents. That's in my lifetime. Now that same cut now, that same steak would be like $20. So just for one fucking steak. The cost of food, meat has gone up. The basics, bread, milk, really the entry level products, basic fruit and vegetables, and so on, have gone up in price substantially. And so if you were spending $100 a week on food and groceries, you'd now be spending somewhere around $140 a week. If you were spending, say, on petrol in your car, your petroleum in the car, you were spending $100 a week there, you'd now be again spending somewhere between $125 and $135 dollars a week. So energy, electricity, because of the subsidies for the supposed nirvana of the Green New Deal, which is always around the next corner, the payoff and the benefits, always just one day away. Then again, you're paying just the cost of electricity just on our bill has gone up by 50% over the last 12 months. I mean, it gives you an idea of the cost increases there. So that's adding another $50 a week, $35 to $50 a week. So really, your cost, if you're on the average wage, you have to find another $200 a week. This is in Australia, Sydney. Another $200 a week just to cover the costs, the increased costs that have been forced on you. It's not that you're living a better quality of life or you're using more electricity or eating more. That's just you're standing still, but your costs are going up. Now, over that same time, your wage has barely gone up at all. So that's quite a hit to take. So that means out of your paycheck, say you're taking home, say the average wage, you're taking home, I don't know, $45,000 a year. Your cost of living has gone up by about 11,000, 12,000, somewhere around there. So that's the extent of it. So that's pretty dramatic, really, and that's all happened in 2 years or so. So this is quite a brutal impost for someone on the average wage. Now, if you're on a particularly highway, I know quite a few people, and we often have lunches and very nice dinners and barbecues. And these are people that spend $150,000 a year just going on vacation. They don't think another $10,000 or $15,000 cost of living for them is just that they don't even notice it. It's toilet paper as far as they're concerned. But to someone on the average wage, it's a brutal impost. So is anyone surprised that these folks get desperate and they try and sort of make ends meet through stealing? I'm not surprised. I don't think it's organised gangs of black people stealing the Armani handbags and breaking, smashing shop windows or something. I think it's people who are desperate and struggling. Now, a lot of these people may not be geniuses. I took the view, just from my own perspective, once I noticed these price rises occurring, I thought, okay, well, can you beat this? Can an ordinary citizen beat this just through better planning, forward planning, better organising, and so on? And you actually can, but it takes quite a lot of planning. Now, for someone who's got quite a solid background in planning and logistics and organisation, it's not that difficult for me to do it. But for the average, sort of Joe or Jane or whatever out there, it's probably not as easy. So, I looked at how we use energy and what we do, and to a large extent, we cut back on the use of electricity in various areas, not because we needed to or had to. So is it possible? And say 2/3 of the price increase we could ameliorate, we could get rid of just by reorganising how we did things. In terms of buying food and groceries, we looked at where the promotional prices and the special prices were, and we switched our consumption around to say, okay, well, this week we'll eat, for example, we'll eat more rice, but next week we'll eat more, I don't know, potatoes or pasta or something, so we'd switch it around depending on where the good prices were. And also we buy in bulk, which we can do. We've got the space, we've got the funds and the cash to do that sort of thing, but people on the average wage probably can't. So we could actually pretty much eliminate all the effect of all the pricing, more or less. We could eliminate that just by better planning and better organising. And we worked out that a lot of the promotional prices work on cycles. So we know that week 1 and week 6 will be, for example, the promotional price on such and such, I don't know, rice or whatever it is. And then so we'll buy enough rice to last for the 6 weeks, but we're buying it in advance in bulk at a price that say is once you recalculate your food and grocery consumption based around on buying all these promotional prices, then your overall cost of your weekly food and grocery bill, maybe a little bit more, but roughly the same. And you're just changing your consumption pattern and just better planning around promotional prices and when they occur, and again, buying in bulk. But for the average person, they can't do that. And so they'll take the full hit, right on the economic chin, as it were. So why is there shop stealing? Then that's why. The cost of living has gone out of fucking control. It's been forced on people by the globalist cabal. And now there's all this, I wonder why people are stealing. Well, I just don't know why. What bullshit. They know perfectly well why. I just want to now talk about the surveillance state, because this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue through considerations of the social credit system and so on. I notice now in pretty much all the major shopping chains that there's cameras at the end of each aisle. Cameras everywhere you fucking look, actually. But now there's also cameras that actually scan your face at the checkout, and another camera that has a top-down look from the ceiling, and another camera angle from the side. So you can be, in terms of facial recognition, they can get close, take, close up camera footage of your face right next to the checkout. Now they say that this is a condition from entry of you can't come into the shop unless you consent to that. And that to me is unacceptable. They're saying, I'm not allowed to eat unless I comply to your intrusion on my privacy. Is that what's being said here? And I don't accept that. That's aching for a legal challenge. That and the government should be challenging the government, but not. I think they're fully on board with this, because I think it's part of us gradually being nudged into the surveillance state sort of situation. The other thing I've noticed too is that in a lot of stores now, if you want the promotional pricing on any given item, they've now switched that from being anybody who, any customer who wants to buy it, that you must be a member of their they call it different names, membership club or whatever the fuck they call it. And you must be a registered member. You can't access the promotional price as an off the street customer. You must be registered with them as a customer and registered, where your location and your mobile phone, your email address, and the suburb that you live in, and that sort of stuff. Now, in some of them, they demand to know your home address, and I just point blank refuse to give it. But you can't access the promotional price. Now, in some of these cases, what brought this home to me is I went to buy something for the car, actually, and it was on a particularly good promotional price, normally $65, and it was down to $30 for 1 day only or something like that. So I thought, I'll get that, and I'll get a couple of them, so I'll be good to go for the next however long. And so I go and say, no, you have to be a signed up club member. And if you do read the fine print at the bottom of the promotional sort of advert, it is mentioned there. They should actually put that in bigger text, bigger characters, I think. But so they wanted, again, phone number, email address, that sort of stuff. And they say they want the email address because they send you promotional material about what's coming up. And I'm okay with that. The phone number, I don't know, why do you need that? They say that's for the purposes of verification when you come in. And I'm, yeah, all right then. Then they ask for your home address and go, no, you're not getting my fucking home address. Then the threat comes back. Well, in that case, you can't be a member. No. I'm not giving you my home address. And if you want to, discuss this in front of a judge in court, then I'm more than happy to do that. Then they're sort of, all right then, and then they let it go. So I haven't given that. But I'm seeing it now in every area of life. Friends of mine or kids, like somebody wants to get a job delivering pizzas for at the local pizza place, and they have to they can only apply for the job if they register as an applicant. So you can't even apply for a job now. And I mean, we're talking pizza delivery. I mean, shit. And they have to give all of their personal details, including home address and this and that. The next thing, a lot of personal details. And if you don't give those personal details, so they tell me, they won't let you apply. So you have to register with all personal details, otherwise you can't apply for a job. This is not get the job, but apply for the job. It's something quite different. Now, if you get the job, of course you give your personal details. that I understand, but you can't even apply now. You are unable to apply for a job as a pizza delivery boy, or as a fucking factory floor sweeper, or as working as some sort of shit kicker at the local low-paid bullshit retail job place. You're unable to do that unless you fully register with all your personal details. That's absolutely astonishing. What an invasion of... Now, again, if you get the job, okay, fine, don't need to know that. That's understood. but to apply, you can't even apply for a job as a pizza delivery boy or a floor sweeper until you've given over all your personal details. So the surveillance state is occurring by it's already a de facto surveillance state. So I looked at all the places where we spend money, retail stores, whether it be grocery stores or other places, and what's the top sort of 10 places, and all of them have either mandatory membership in their clubs with personal details before you can access promotional prices. Now, some of the bigger, grocery food and grocery chains, they've introduced member pricing, but they're not enforcing it. So they'll say, well, you get an extra 5% off. You can still access the promotional pricing on like catalogs and things like that, but if you can get another 5% off if you register, but that's not far away before you won't be able to access any promotional prices unless you give personal details. So the surveillance state effectively is going to occur in a consumer society. I think it's easier to do, but it's effectively is going to occur. Any government benefit or program or anything you register with, you have to give all those details. But to be able to, you can't go into a shop without being facially recognized, photographed. You can't access promotional prices on any product until you're registered, and so on and so forth. So your phone number is registered almost everywhere. So you can be tracked at any time of the day, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, and in any situation or circumstance. And that's quite astonishing. Now, even if you're one of these people like me who refuses to download any of the apps unless I specifically need it for something, then it's harder to do that. But one way or another, whether it be you won't be able to get employment, you won't be able to get a government. That's more sort of to, I accept that. Won't be able to get any sort of government program, or you won't be able to buy anything or go anywhere or use any form of transport unless you are registered in some way. For example, one of the public transport firms, they've already started a thing that if you have to register with them as a you can only access their transport using a particular card. To get that card, you must be registered and so on. So I think the surveillance state is pretty much already here. There's only just a few final details to be sorted out, and then they'll have nailed the whole thing. You've been fantastic today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.